Hey, what's going on, everyone? This is Mitch. Good Wednesday morning to you all. Hope everyone's doing well out there this morning and having a fantastic start to your day and a great week out there so far. Here to bring the latest on what's going to happen weather-wise for your day. And suddenly we have a increased risk of severe weather for today, and we got three different areas to talk about. One is in the southern plains, areas of Oklahoma and surrounding states. Suddenly we have an enhanced risk, level 3 out of 5. And we do have an increased risk of severe weather for areas of the Carolinas. Could be a similar type setup as yesterday, where we could have some sneaky tornadoes. Yesterday was incredible across the Carolinas. If you're familiar with the Carolinas, or obviously you're tuning in and live in the Carolinas, we had a lot of weak tornadoes that ended up developing off pretty weak storms. I would almost call them like power showers. It was incredible. A guy named Gerald, which I've mentioned many times on my channel. He's in my recommended YouTube channels on my page. He actually called one, two, maybe as much as three tornadoes. Another guy named Andrew, who's a young local storm chaser too here in the Carolinas, did an excellent job just covering these storms yesterday. It was a marginal risk, a 2% risk of tornadoes, and we had multiple confirmed tornadoes. You could visibly see them across the Carolinas. So it could be a similar day as it was yesterday. Today, but we got to see what's going to happen, the differences and all those things. But of course, we'll break down all three of these areas individually in a great detailed way, and then we'll get you all covered for the rest of the country also. And then after we get done talking about today's forecast, of course, we'll give you some updated outlooks for Thursday and then your Friday. Not going to go much past that, but we will give you some updated information as far as those outlooks for those days. So if you guys have not subscribed, certainly consider doing that. Like the video if you like it, and if anybody has anything that I can pray about or pray over, as always, please put those in the comments below. It gives me an opportunity to pray over it, and it gives others an opportunity to do so too. Let's get rocking and rolling. So we do have a lot of moisture scattered about out there. We have rain falling across areas of New York City, Long Island, pretty much areas of just the Northeast, all the way down to the Mid-Atlantic, the Delmarva region. We got scattered storms already ongoing across areas of the Carolinas. We had a big storm here at my house around 3:30 this morning. Definitely had my dog pacing back and forth. My dog cannot stand the sound of thunder and just loud noises. Of course, a lot of people's animals are like that, and my dog certainly is no different. He'll kind of get really close to me and just kind of nudge his body against me, and I have to comfort him. But, for animal lovers out there, which I hope just about all of us are, you certainly got to be there for the animals when it's the 4th of July, New Year's Eve, and these storms are ongoing. But moving past that, we do have some scattered convection across the Ohio Valley in the form of some heavy rain, even some flash flood warnings ongoing in northern Kentucky, right here in this region, around Lexington, points west. And then we have some showers across Ohio and just a lot of scattered moisture across the middle of the country. We got a lot of moisture across the Dakotas, some in like southern sections of Nebraska, Kansas, Oklahoma. And this will be the area where the atmosphere will clear out, and then we'll have a threat of significant winds with these storms across Oklahoma today and surrounding states. So we'll, of course, get very detailed on that. But that's what's going on across the country right at this moment. We continue to move forward. We're drawing a blank screen here, right? Just white across the board, just about. There is probably some advisories out there. Pivotal weather doesn't always show what the National Weather Service shows. I just like showing pivotal weather's kind of a version of the watches, warnings, and advisories because it's much wider and I think it's much clearer. But there probably is some alerts out there, but nothing significant, I guess is what I'm trying to say and show you guys. It's pretty quiet right now. Excessive rainfall outlook. We do have 4 different areas to watch out for just a marginal risk of flash flooding. We'll see if any of these upgrade throughout the next couple updates from the National Weather Service. But as of now, today won't be a big risk of flash flooding. Tomorrow and the next day will be a totally different story, and we'll talk about that towards the end of the video. But this is what we're looking at here. Now, Storm Prediction Center. I want to stick on this here for just a minute or two here. First off, I will mention slight risk in the Carolinas, level 2 out of 5. Remember, yesterday it was just a marginal risk surrounding that slight risk. Slight risk down here for the middle of Florida. And we have ongoing active weather right now. And then we have an enhanced risk, level 3 out of 5 for areas of Oklahoma, southern Kansas, and the panhandle of Oklahoma and Texas. So I want to mention this. We're getting to that time of the year. Remember, these outlooks are driven off confidence. They're not necessarily driven off, when you see that high risk, that moderate risk, you're thinking immediately, there's going to be an outbreak. Now, a lot of times that's what it ends up being, but that doesn't mean it's always going to happen. That's a confidence level. So, you got an enhanced risk. That means their confidence, is that level 3 out of 5. It's increased for the risk of severe weather. And this is going to happen a lot as we're approaching kind of the later portion of spring. I would consider a late May, later spring, because I live in the South, and by the time you get into late May, you're starting to get into the summer months, in my opinion. A little bit different for the northern tier of the country, but what I'm saying is May, June, July, even August. A lot of times, the day before or the day of, you have a sudden uptick in the confidence level of a severe weather. So, you might go to bed and there's just a marginal risk, and all of a sudden you wake up to there's a slight risk, maybe even an enhanced risk. This happened all summer last summer. So, confidence could increase the day of is what I'm trying to say. And of course, that's what happened earlier this morning, and confidence increased. And I'll show you why. We could have some damaging wind gusts with these storms later today. But tornado outlook, and I could see this bumping up in the Carolinas to a 5% risk for a very small area where we could have some splitting supercells. But there's a 5% risk of tornadoes within 25 miles in a given location here, including Orlando, Tampa, surrounding areas. And then this little area right here, south of Wichita, almost all the way down to Tulsa, and well north of Oklahoma City. This area right here in northern Oklahoma, southern Kansas, 5% risk of a tornado. Wind threat, it's pretty significant across areas of the plains. This red area, 30% chance of winds exceeding 55 to 60 miles per hour. And then you got the black outline region going in between it. That also means that I just love when it does that. I'm being sarcastic, guys. I do not. Just the site updating itself. But that means there's a 10% risk of significant winds, which means winds could approach 75 miles per hour or higher, a 10% risk of that. And then the yellow areas you see here, and around this red area, 15% risk of the same criteria, winds exceeding 55 to 60 miles per hour. The hail outlook, all three of these areas, 15% risk. If you live in this region, you got a 15% risk of hail exceeding 1 inch in diameter or larger. So let's cover the southeast first. Of course, we always take that broad look at it first, and it's no different with this video. And starting off this morning, it's already popping off across Florida. It will continue as we get deeper into the morning, into the early afternoon hours. We'll continue to get a lot of shower and storm activity coming basically off the eastern Gulf of Mexico, across the peninsula of Florida, then back out into the Atlantic Ocean here, the east side of Florida. And at the same time, we could get more showers and storms in the southern half of the peninsula of Florida. But you see all this action much more isolated at first in the eastern half of the Carolinas, but you see all this shower and storm activity sort of in the western Carolinas ongoing in like the foothills, the Piedmont. These could produce damaging winds, some hail, and even an isolated tornado, especially anything that develops right here in central, eastern sections of North Carolina and the PD of South Carolina. Once again, similar setup as yesterday, a little bit different, a little bit of a mini triple point being met up here. Kind of a surge of moist air into North Carolina. This will introduce the opportunity for some nasty storms potentially. So let's zoom into each individual region. Let's talk about Florida first. And this is what we got going on. As we start to get into the late morning hours around 11 a.m., look at all these storms. And there's already been this morning, I think there was a tornado warning along the east coast of Florida. I'm not sure where exactly it was, but look at all these individual cells. You got to watch out for tornadoes with these. Of course, damaging winds and hail also. But, this will continue all the way through about 1, 2 p.m. And I do think there could be kind of a break, maybe, a mid to late afternoon. And that might be all she wrote. It just depends on if there's a connection between all this energy still as you're kind of dipping down south of Orlando and getting close to Fort Myers, south of Tampa. Is there going to be any storms in this area of Florida right here around 7, 8, 9 p.m. this evening? Model guidance says no, but we'll certainly watch out for that. And then we look at the updraft velocity swath over the next several hours. It does indicate some stronger updrafts, rotating storms, especially, watch out right around Orlando. Both sides of the coastline of Florida, Tampa Bay, over to the Space Coast. There's a shot, especially in this portion right here of Florida, over the next, 6 to 8 hours of some tornadoes being produced by some of these storms that kind of sink southward across the peninsula of Florida. So be aware of that today. And then we look at the Carolinas. Tricky setup. All right, we get into about lunchtime. Already getting some convection ongoing in eastern Tennessee, western North Carolina, southwestern Virginia. And then this is what I want to watch around 2, 3, 4 o'clock. Some individual cells could be on going south of Raleigh, north of Fayetteville, maybe right on top of either one. Storm firing up north of Wilmington also. You got to watch that one. But anything that gets going in this discrete mid-afternoon across central North Carolina, I think it has a possibility of, popping off a tornado like they did yesterday. Okay, we had a tornado around Fayetteville. And, look, as you get to 4 p.m., these, storms begin to mature. And, that's a classic-looking supercell to me. So, I think that there's going to be some cells this afternoon that have the opportunity to produce a tornado. So, I would watch out Fayetteville to Raleigh especially. There's that corridor right there is what I'm the most, I would say, be aware of, concerned of, however way you want to put it. But then you watch out for these storms kind of developing in the foothills, the Piedmont of North Carolina. They'll kind of swing through, and I think all this energy will kind of make its way out the mountains, pretty much cruise across the Carolinas. So about 7 p.m., some storms around Charlotte, potentially points east. Could drift through Rock Hill, all the way down to the Carolina coastline. Eventually, it could be a pretty active late evening, potentially, unless these storms lose some steam and just pretty much are done with. But there's the updraft Felicity swath, and I'm just taking a look at the latest one, right? It really picks up on the cell between Fayetteville and Raleigh. See this highlighted color? It really likes that area for 1 or 2 supercells, maybe more, maybe just one. But I'm telling you, it could be similar to yesterday. We had multiple tornadoes, very weak. When the survey team goes out and grades these, they'll probably be EF0s, maybe EF1. I think there was a tornado went right through Mullins, South Carolina, right here in the PD of South Carolina. And it actually did some damage, kind of threw some stuff around. But, if you're in that area, definitely let me know. Send me pictures. But similar day, but maybe a little bit further north. So we'll see what happens there. So be aware of that. Certainly. Up here in the Northeast, another day of just scattered rain showers. It's a rainy start from the Delmarva up to the southern sections of Connecticut. You'll continue to deal with this. There's a couple things ongoing. Some storms are possible up here in northern New York, northern Vermont, New Hampshire, all the way up here into western sections of Maine. A little bit of a low, kind of throwing back some moisture. It almost looks like kind of like a tropical system, but it's not. Kind of throwing back some moisture into Long Island. A very rainy day, windy probably. Raining here in the southern New England coastline. But at the same time, you see all these splotches of orange and red down here in West Virginia, Kentucky, southern Ohio. A lot of scattered convection, downpour, storm activity, some small hail possible with this. But I am kind of thinking in this area, you're really lacking ingredients for severe weather. But don't let it catch you off guard if you do get one. So, southern Ohio, like I said, West Virginia, Kentucky, Western Virginia, certainly some storm action is possible later this afternoon into this evening. And, you certainly want to watch this little low. These things are tricky. It's getting to that time of the year. This is pretty far north, but this thing is trying to strengthen, and we could really get a surge of moisture into southern New England later this afternoon into this evening. And, the HRRR model is really dumping a lot of rain on this area. In fact, I'm kind of surprised, and we're all the way out to Thursday afternoon at this point. I'm going to do this on the fly for you folks in New England. I'm kind of surprised they don't have a slight risk of flash flooding in this region. Maybe it's just because, you guys have not received a whole lot of rain lately. Maybe that's it. But this is rainfall between now. See, I don't know if I agree with that. National Weather Service not going for a whole lot. Maybe they're just not buying the HRRR model. But the HRRR model, let's see what it's showing. I'm going to look at this really quick as far as the rainfall. Yeah, it brings a lot more rain into Long Island, Connecticut, Rhode Island. We'll see what ends up winning out here. We'll see if the National Weather Service bumps up these rainfall totals. And this is between now and the next 42 hours, Thursday evening. We'll see what happens. Interesting stuff here. Could be a storyline that develops over the next several hours. So we'll definitely stay tuned to that. Broad look at the south central U.S. Not a whole lot all the way up to about noon, 1 p.m. And then some energy fires up off a weak cold front. Scattered showers, thunderstorms here in the southern panhandle of Texas. Make sure I don't say Florida. Southwestern Oklahoma. And then you see this complex of storms out here in the panhandle of Oklahoma. You want to watch this energy, but there's clusters of storms everywhere. You got this cluster of storms right here in southeastern Kansas, down here in southern Oklahoma, up here in northwestern Oklahoma, some rain and storms down here in northwestern. No, well, I appreciate you blocking ads for me, but I'm trying to do a weather video right now, so we'll talk about that later. Sorry, guys. So let's get back to the weather here. But that's as raw as it gets, guys. You know, it's a personal thing here. You know, there's nothing flashy about my channel, but as you can tell. But you know, a lot of shower storm activity, and as we start to get into the late evening hours, could be a complex of storms. I mean, this is like 1 to 2 a.m. This is rumbling through central Oklahoma, and then by the time you get into Thursday morning, could be lingering rain, even some storms in northern Arkansas, eastern Oklahoma. But you know, I probably spent way too much time on that because we're going to turn around and zoom in on it here in a second. But here's a closer look at the severe weather threat for Oklahoma and surrounding states today. As you can tell, enhanced risk right in here. This is Amarillo right here, surrounding towns and communities. Of course, I don't try to pretend like I know every single town in the Panhandle of Texas, but hopefully you guys tuning in kind of know where this orange area goes through. But you know, we look at the tornado risk. Highest tornado risk is probably up here in northern Oklahoma, Wichita Point south, and southern Kansas. But there is, in the green area, 2% risk of a tornado. But the wind outlook, by far, is certainly the most high risk today. Entire red area, which doesn't quite get down to Oklahoma City, but you know, might get extended into. This is a 30% chance of winds exceeding 55 to 60 miles per hour. But of course, you got the black outline region going in between it. Black dashes means there's a 10% chance of winds exceeding 75 miles per hour or higher. Category 1 hurricane force winds, guys. So definitely be aware of that. And then this is the hail outlook. Yellow area, 15% risk of hail exceeding 1 inch in diameter or larger. But there's a closer look at the radar. Spent a little bit of time on this. And there's those storms, you know, that's what I'm talking about. These right here you want to watch out for. This could be more intense than what it's showing. Really broken up looking here. This is around 8 p.m. So later on, got some storms from Guyman points east. You know, this isn't going to be exactly what happens. Maybe it's probably not going to be exactly what happens. It's just model guidance. But look at this individual cell right here between Dodge City and Wichita. I mean, you definitely want to watch those. There could be a boundary right in here. So these are the cells right here. The individual ones could produce a tornado. You want to watch out for those. But there's definitely going to be damaging wind gusts with these clusters of storms. But as you can tell, they're just kind of everywhere. This is around midnight, 1 a.m., 2 a.m., 3 a.m. You want to watch for these storms blasting through central to eastern Oklahoma. Damaging wind gusts are possible. Little clusters of storms. It's exactly the way the Storm Prediction Center mentions it. And of course, this is just kind of the HRRR model. This is between now and Thursday morning. I know you see these weird little gaps here. It's because it goes in 1 hour increments, 1 hour periods. So, you know, it doesn't, the winds don't just skip over this area of Oklahoma. It's just 1 hour to 1 hour. That's the movement from the storms. But I mean, look at these pockets of 60, 70, 75 mile per hour wind gusts and these kind of clusters of storms kind of scooting through areas of, I mean, Texas and Oklahoma. And it'll probably be up here in Kansas also, just not picking up on it. And we will look at the updraft velocity swath in this area, and it's probably going to, you know, be a little extreme, but it does show you the general idea that there could be some rotating storms, stronger updrafts with these storms. So definitely be aware of the tornado threat in this area too. North central U.S. All right, a lot of little things going on. We got this area of just more so rain, just light to moderate rain up here in eastern North Dakota later this afternoon, and areas of Minnesota. I do want to watch these clusters of storms as kind of a surface low will begin to develop. You see here in southwestern Minnesota, western Iowa. I want to watch these. There's just a general risk of thunderstorms up here in Minnesota. But I do wonder if they're going to extend the marginal risk a little bit further north into Minnesota. I just want to watch this. As surface low is trying to develop, I'm telling you, I would not be surprised. We hear about a tornado in southwestern Minnesota, maybe areas of Iowa later on this afternoon, this evening. It would not blow my mind one bit, because there's that surface low developing. You know, just widespread rains across northern Minnesota, scattered just showers across the Midwest, I would say, would be the general theme. And then we start to get into tomorrow morning, area of rain surging through the heart of Wisconsin all the way to Duluth. and starting to enter the western UP of Michigan as we're waking up tomorrow morning with just some scattered showers along the surface low up here in northern and especially northeastern Minnesota. So just definitely watch out for those storms in that area I just mentioned. Western U.S., not a whole lot to speak on, except scattered convection possible. I mean, maybe a scattered downpour or two, pop-up showers across Utah. I mean, the Four Corner states, all the way up to Wyoming. Could get some heavier rain in northern Arizona. Definitely want to watch for this rain here. So not super quiet, but getting a little bit more rain because of this shortwave trough, the shortwave low trough, whatever you want to call it, that is scooting across the southern portion of the country. So this is producing enough lift for some shower, maybe some thunderstorm activity, even across areas of northern New Mexico, northern Arizona, as the energy kind of moves through this region. So be aware of that. But I don't know, the northwestern U.S., California, Nevada, I think that y'all guys will be pretty quiet today. Temperatures today, it'll get quite warm and humid across the southeast, 80s, maybe a 90-degree reading. Once again, very, very hot in the southern sections of Florida. Very warm in Texas. And, I mean, pretty average temperatures across the Ohio Valley, the Midwest, the Great Lakes region. I mean, it's actually pretty comfortable, 60s, 70s. Pretty comfortable day up here in Nova Scotia, New Brunswick, Maine. It'll be more comfortable in Maine than it is in like Pennsylvania and New York State. It just depends on where the cloud cover and things are. It'll stay cooler in like New York City, New Jersey, Long Island area, just because you'll be dealing with clouds and rain all day. Delmarva too will kind of cling to cooler air just because of this surface low, like I said, bringing all that rain. But temperatures out west, pretty warm across the southwest. Nothing totally unusual though. And just in general, it's pretty warm out west. Pretty comfortable temperatures for the middle portion of Maine, and then Texas pretty warm. Oklahoma pretty warm. Starts to get to more cooler kind of temperatures as you start to get into Nebraska points north. But nice day in Montana, and then all these lower elevations across the Rockies. Certainly 60s and 70s. I mean, pretty nice conditions. So the Storm Prediction Center for tomorrow, it's a day we need to figure out, kind of day 1 out of 3 of severe weather for this southern shortwave that'll scoot across this portion of the country. And then we'll have to figure out what happens after that later into the weekend to next week. But slight risk right here for right in the middle portion of Texas. Marginal risk, this weird extension all the way into the mid-Mississippi Valley region. So level 2 out of 5 already. Tornado risk, 2 areas to watch for a 2% risk right in here and down here, with a 5% risk of a tornado south of Abilene, including Midland and areas probably down to San Angelo and these regions right in here. The wind outlook, 15% risk of winds exceeding 55 to 60 miles per hour. The hail outlook, I would say it's probably going to be the most significant deal tomorrow, but other things could increase too. The yellow area, 15% risk of hail exceeding 1 inch in diameter or larger. And then, of course, the black outline region, that's a 10% risk of significant hail, which is 2 inch in diameter or larger. Be aware of that. And then also tomorrow, a moderate risk of flash flooding. So you got a 40% chance of flash flood guidance being met or exceeded within 25 miles of any given point in this red area. Flash flooding is going to develop. This will be an issue. We'll talk about this a lot in the next video. And then the yellow area, you got a 15% risk of that. And then we shift into our Friday. There will be a severe weather threat across areas of the Deep South, especially the western Deep South. This does include a good chunk of Louisiana, a very small section of southeastern Texas, and I mean all the way, I would say 2/3 of Mississippi, and then the extreme western and southwestern sections of Alabama, including like Mobile. You got New Orleans, Baton Rouge, Jackson, Mississippi. I mean, Alexandria, all you guys are included in this risk of severe weather level 2 out of 5. Marginal risk does extend all the way up here to almost Cincinnati. What is this driven off of? All we know is that there is a 15% risk of severe weather within 25 miles in a given location. But also I want to note they already have a hatched risk up. So there's a 10% risk of significant severe weather. You're thinking, what is this probably driven off of? I think it's probably driven off wind, in my opinion. But we'll see. That's my shot. That's Mitch's guess at this. Got yesterday right. Well, I got tomorrow's outlook right from day 3. So we'll see. I'm going to go for wind. I think, and we'll talk about why here in some more videos here to come as we're trying to break that down. But look, I mean, there's already now a moderate risk of flash flooding for Friday too, a little bit further east across areas of southern Mississippi, southern Alabama, at least a 40% chance of rainfall exceeding flash flood guidance within 25 miles at any given point. And just to kind of, look at a broad look at this rainfall across this region, a lot of rain, once again, coming for the southeastern portions of Texas, Louisiana. I mean, you guys, we can go on and just zoom into Louisiana. We got some extra time this morning. Thankfully, I always hate when I'm having to rush through these videos. My videos are long, guys. But 3 to 4 inches of rain between now and Friday evening is likely across areas, and especially right in the central portion of Louisiana. Then, of course, look at southern Mississippi. And, of course, we look at the deep south between now. And let's just go on and go out to, like, Saturday morning. I mean, they're going for 6 to 7 inches of rain around Hattiesburg, over into southwestern Alabama. A lot of rain in this area, guys. So wet times coming up. We're probably going to have flash flooding issues and all those things. So stay tuned. But that's all I got, guys. Thank y'all for tuning in. God bless all y'all. Appreciate the amazing support. And you guys have a great day. God bless.